Okay, so Chairman, I can confirm that we're now live and we can start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a virtual meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee of the London Borough of Hillingdon. This virtual meeting is also being broadcast simultaneously on the channel's YouTube channel, Hillingdon London. My name's Martin Goddard, Councillor Martin Goddard, and I'm the chairman for this meeting. Before we start, some important online housekeeping for everyone present, please. Please ensure that any mobile phones around you are on silent. Please keep your microphone muted when not speaking and then unmute to speak. Only one person should speak at any time, and I as chairman will call on those to speak and will keep an eye on the room through my gallery view on those indicating. Before we move on to the agenda, I'd like to do a roll call of all those present, please. And if I can start with the councillors on the committee, please indicate you are present when I say your name. Councillor Janet Gardner.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Colleen Sullivan.
Present.
Thank you. Now dealing with the officers, the licensing officer, Mark McDermott.
Present.
Thank you. Legal advisor, Kerry Munro.
Good morning, Chairman. Present.
Thank you very much. Democratic Services Officer, Liz Penny.
Yes, present.
Thank you. The applicant, Mr. Sukadia.
Morning, sir. Present.
Thank you very much. The applicant's representative, Mr. Panchal.
Present. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Responsible authorities, we have one responsible authority making representations today. That's the licensing authority, and they're represented by Daniel Ferrer.
Good morning, Chairman. Present.
Thank you. Interested parties, Mr. Shirling.
Yes, present.
Mr. Victory.
Good morning, present.
Thank you very much. And
Chairman, sorry to interrupt 1 second. We've just got somebody else who's joined. Can I just double check who that is who's joined us? Who's that? Is that Mr. Malcolm who's just joined us? Hello? Hello, can I just confirm who that is who's just joined the call, please? I can't hear anything. If you could just unmute yourself.
Hi, it's Seema, Miss Palmer.
Oh, hello, Seema. Thank you for joining. That's fine. No problem at all. I just want to double check who is on the call. That's fine. Thank you very much for joining. Apologies, Chairman, if you'd like to continue now with the roll call. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe Mr. Malcolm was due to be present, but I don't believe he's on the call. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. Mr. Malcolm didn't confirm. He said he would try, so I suspect perhaps he can't join us, unfortunately.
Fine. Okay. Thank you. We'll continue then. In terms of technical meeting control, if any councillor leaves the virtual meeting partway through for a period of time, for example, for a lost connection, I will continue the meeting unless we are not quorate. And quorate is 2 councillors. Importantly, if a councillor drops out and has not fully heard the statements made by the applicant or other parties for a period of time, they will not be able to determine the matter, but may continue to take part in the meeting. To help avoid this, if a councillor does drop out, we may ask the relevant party to repeat their statement. If any others present drop out during the meeting and have not heard all the statements made, the Democratic Services team will advise on the best course of action. So if we now turn to the agenda, first of all, Liz, do we have any apologies for absence, please?
No apologies today, Chairman.
Thank you very much. And are there any declarations of interest in any matters before this meeting? I don't see anything, so we'll continue. And just to confirm that this is a public meeting, and therefore all matters are being dealt with in public. The one matter which will be dealt with in private is the deliberation by the committee on the outcome of this hearing. Liz, do we have any matters notified in advance as urgent?
No, we don't, Chairman.
Thank you very much. So if I may then, please, I will turn to our licensing officer, Mark McDermott, to introduce the matter in hand. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. You will have all received the report bundle and will be familiar with the salient points of the application. This hearing is to consider a contested application for a new premises licence for a bar restaurant submitted by Mr. Deep Barukuma Sukhija, the sole director of the applicant company Fusion Tadka Limited. They are represented by Mr. Panchal. The premises previously had the benefit of a licence shown at Appendix 8 that lapsed on the 21st of January 2020. Due to the licence holder company Nelson Management Limited being dissolved, this application is on similar terms to the lapsed licence for the sale of alcohol, late night refreshment, but with the addition of recorded music between the hours of 12 noon and 23:30. The premises are on a high street with mixed retail and residential use. The licensing authority has submitted a representation and a further 3 have been received from local residents, and you will have seen my comments at paragraph 7.2 regarding them. I recommend the grant of the licence with the additions of conditions as appropriate to uphold the licensing objectives. But of course, this is a decision for the committee, and I would invite the committee to determine the application in whether to grant, refuse or amend the application as applied for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I don't have any questions of clarification about your statement. Can I turn it over to my councillor colleagues? Councillor Gardner, any points of clarification from you, please?
No, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Sullivan, any points of clarification from you?
No, none.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So then we'll turn to a submission from the applicant. Mr. Panchal, I imagine that you'll be making the opening statement. Am I correct?
Yes, Chairman, thank you so much for that. Yes, the applicant, the application, can I just clarify that the application was made by Mr. Sukhadia himself. Today I'm representing the application that he's made to the council, and to clarify the points and the objectors' views on it. So if you may allow me, I will start my presentation.
Thank you. Please do go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, I'd like to make it a bit more clear that the applicant, Mr. Sukhadia, has a lot of experience in licensing trade. He does own off license as well as he does trade into licensing matters, and has not breached so far since his grant of licenses any matters relating to the licensing. He has been following the licensing objectives robustly. Coming back to this premises application, this premises has nothing to do with the previous owners. That is one of the concerns that I was looking at with the objectors. So he has no relation or nothing to do with the objectors. It is just that the application, that the premises were available for business, and Mr. Sukhadia wanted to increase his business matters. He did take over these premises. There is no difference in what the about the application on what previous license had, as you heard from Mark. But I also like to stress Mark's views on conditions drawn out by the licensing officer for the grant of the license. And Chairman, we are agreeing to all the conditions laid out. I'm going to go through the condition to make it a much more easier for you to understand. Condition number 1, the alcohol will only be served with a table meal. There will be a waitress service. In other words, there will be no people standing on the bar or anything drinking. The CCTV conditions, number 3 and 4 in your bundle, as you can see, are also 3, 4, 5, and 6. My client agrees with all of them, 6, 7, 8. And condition number 8, my client also agrees to furthermore increase the challenge 21 into challenge 25 policy. So there will be a challenge 25 policy instead of challenge 21, as suggested by Daniel in his report. Furthermore, Chairman, I'm also giving more stress to to promote the licensing objectives robustly, I'm increasing another further condition in saying not more than 5 people be allowed for smoking in front of the shop. So the people coming up to the restaurant and would like to go out to smoke, not more than 5 people will be allowed in front of the shop, in front of the restaurant to smoke in that area. So, Chairman, that's our submission presently, and we are happy to take any questions laid out by anybody, all the objectors. I have looked at all the objections and considered my client's application, and I would put anything further from the comments by the objectors. But we're going to be making sure the 4 licensing objectives are robustly promoted. We have nothing to do with what the previous owners were carrying on to do. So, Chairman, we feel that the license be granted.
Thank you, Mr. Panchal. That's helpful. Mr. Sukadia, do you want to add any comments to what Mr. Panchal has said?
Yes, morning, sir. I want to say the same thing. I am like a totally this is a new premises for me, and we are nothing with old owner, because main thing objector, they have the mostly, I think so, in the past they have the bad experience or something. But please give us the chance. I also live around locally from my premises, so I also know the a community, how to serve the community and all things. So I try my best to get the we don't have the any problem or any trouble with the local community. So that's why I just said the request to granted the license.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sukadia. I just do have a couple of questions of clarification, and then I will also invite my committee colleagues to raise any points that they have. Firstly, Mr. Sukadia, can I take it that you are going to be the designated premises supervisor, and that you will be managing the business on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and I noticed that Mr. Panchal said that you have a fairly extensive experience of running licensed premises. Can you tell us some of that, specifically what that experience is?
Yeah, sir. I have the 2 convenience store from the till 2008, and I started another restaurant the last year in the 2019 in the Stanmore area, sir. They are also 120-seat restaurant. So this also is the sports bars and restaurants. Last 1 year, sir, we don't have any complaint, anything about this whole thing. So I have the good experience in the restaurant as well, sir.
So do you still have the bar and restaurant in Stanmore, or
yes, sir.
You do? Okay, so does that mean that you're going to be dividing your time between the 2?
Sir, yeah, I have the 2 partners as well on the Stanmore property, and we have the a proper manager and the proper bartender, staffs, everything. So they run this smoothly for my business, sir.
Okay, so if I understand it, these premises, you will be devoting the majority of your time to them. Is that correct?
In your business, sir, yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can we talk a little bit about the business model for this operation? If I understand the application form and what Mr. Panchal has said, this is first, second, and last a restaurant. Am I correct about that?
Yes, sir.
And I believe it's been said that the service of alcohol is only going to be for customers who are seated at tables and ordering food.
Yes, sir, we are agree. But main things, this is I don't want to open the club or anything. They are the a nice restaurant. Yes. But if I just increase any customers come and the evening time, and any old people come and they ask the pint of beer. So that's why I am concerned. We serve with the meal or something. So main things are they are the restaurant, but I want to put in the bar as well, because we serve the alcohol as well with our food. So
yeah.
This.
Yeah. So as I understand it, if somebody does call in at the premises and wants to just buy a drink, you would serve them. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Because that, if I may say so, that's slightly different to what Mr. Panchal said. So I think we need some clarification on that point. Which is it? Because there was a clear statement that it was only the service of alcohol with meals.
Chairman, sorry, can I just come in with that? I think I had a discussion with Mr. Sukadia previously, and I think he's misunderstood. We did discuss that any alcohol served at the premises will be with a meal. So if somebody came in the evening, what Mr. Sukadia is trying to understand, or I don't know whether he understands that they will be buying something to eat with the meat, with the alcohol they drink at the premises.
Okay.
I mean, can explain that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a fairly important point, actually, given the past history of the premises. So, I mean, can I just check with you? I mean, that just what Mr. Panchal said seems very clear to me, but it does contradict what you just said.
Yeah, I agree with this, sir. So, like, we serve the alcohol with any kind of the meal, with meal.
Okay, so
I agree with this.
So, I mean, to be absolutely clear, it will be the service of alcohol only with meals.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, can I just check one thing? I took the liberty of looking at your company, Fusion Tadka, on Companies House, and as I'm sure you know, when you form a limited company, you have to say what the activities of the company are going to be. And for your company, it lists the activity of licensed restaurants, takeaway food and mobile food stands, and I guess other food services, all of which seems fairly sensible to me. However, what I also noticed was that there was a reference made to licensed clubs. Can you explain that? And is that part of the business plan going forward?
Yes, Chairman, can I come in? Sorry to come in that. Normally, when in Companies House, when you register, you tend to register mostly everything the company intends to do in the future or intends to carry out in the future. And then again, it depends what the company wishes to do initially. And here in this case, the company is initially going to be doing a restaurant, which they've come across. And that restaurant is going to be with alcohol with meal, and that their future Fusion Tadka's future would be, they could, if there was a club available anywhere, and if they wanted to buy under Fusion Limited, the memorandum would support that. So if they were to buy a club in central London which came into their possession or came into it, the company will have a right to go for it according to their memorandum of article.
Okay, yes, I thank you, Mr. Panchal. So to be absolutely clear about this, Mr. Sukadia, there are no plans to run a licensed club from these premises.
Yes, sir. Is it clear, sir? I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I believe also you've confirmed that there will be no off-sale. There will be no sales of alcohol on an off-sale basis. Is that correct?
That's correct, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay. And I was grateful for the explanation that there is no connection between you and the former licensee of the premises. But can I just check, do you have, or have you already taken any steps to hire any of the former employees who worked at the premises?
Sorry, sir?
Yeah, can I explain again, Mr. Sukadia? You may have noticed from the comments that were raised by the residents that there were certain problems with employees who worked for the previous licensee. And what I want to know is whether you have any plans or whether you have already taken steps to employ any of the former workers who worked for the previous licensee.
Yes, sir. Like our new staff, they are the totally different and the proper trained staff, sir. So we already take the actions like what they're saying. The like after the close the restaurant, the old employees they talk the outside and drinking the like outside of the premises.
Mm-hmm.
So we are aware with this, and we are take the proper like step for this. So is no my staff or nobody after the close the restaurants, they go straight to the house. So we are not allowed to give any staff to stand outside or drink the alcohol or after the closing or anything. So
Okay, so this is a completely fresh team, no connection with the previous one.
no connection, no any single person. They are the same for the old employees.
Okay, that's very helpful, Mr. Sicario. Thank you. Right, I'll stop asking questions there and give my colleagues a chance. Councillor Sullivan, any questions from you, please?
Yes, I was concerned about the noise with the recorded music. That is something that concerns me because it is a residential area, and with music sort of being, I don't know how the music is going to be piped out till about midnight, 11:30. It's going to be a little bit noisy for residents above the premises and over the road, because it is a strictly residential area. That's one of my concerns. The other concern is the extractor fans, because they always make a lot of noise. Can you let me know where they are situated, and anything can be done to stem the noise from these fans?
Yes, Chairman, I can answer those questions on behalf of the applicant. If you look at it, I've agreed the conditions with the license officer regarding the noise, so that matter will be taken into consideration. Looking back into the previous owners when they used to keep maybe the door open and playing the loud music. This is not going to be a club venue where people are going to come in. It's a family venue that Mr. Sukadia is trying to promote. So music will be played according to the registrations of the council's licenses, noise abatement laws. So it will not be blasting out or doors open and music being heard by residents close by. That is not what Mr. Sukadia wants to do. That's one thing. And as regards to the noise from the fans and that, I think that will be best answered by Mr. Sukadia, if he can answer if there is any air condition equipment which is going to make any noise.
Hi, I would think it would benefit the licensing hearing if we hear from the applicant on both points on a realistic, what would happen in reality with regards to the noise and the extractor fan, what he phantoms would be put in place to address it.
Yes, again, I can answer that. There will be, yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's better that the applicant speaks on the points because it's him that will be managing the property. So we want to hear about the noise, how he will alleviate any noise from the customers, from the cooking, from the partaking inside the business, and in addition, what he says about the extractor fan. And I think it's fitting for the evidence to come from him because it will be him that's managing the property.
Thank you. That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Sukadia?
Yeah. Also, the extractor, they're already fitted, so we don't change anything from the new. They have already what they have in the before. We service is this extractor, and who's the company? They are putting something on the silencer, they say, because we already put the same in our restaurant as well. So they are cut the noise for they put the like silencer or something. So we already give the contract for these things as well. And another things on the inside of the recordable music ones. So we don't run any club or anything, but if in case like anybody's come for the celebrate the birthday or something and they want to music or they are the live music or something, that's why we are apply for the late night refreshment till 11:30. So, and main thing, before the owner, we read in the contract, they had to open the door and the full voice of music. So we are considered, we don't do the full kind of the music, and they open the door and the sound, they go till like opposite side of the like across the road for the houses, and they are disturbance. So I also understand in the 11:30 on night, and we are loud music, and the someone want to sleep, and they are residential area. So that I am try my best. So we never open the door and sound loudly. And every day, sir, they don't have the noises every day on the music. They have the only for the few days if they have the like any small function or something. But we are not playing the like a blast kind of the music, so they are disturbing the local person and local area. So these are my concerns.
Hi, Chairman. I don't know how I'm supposed to get heard. I'm on the phone. I don't know when I'm allowed to speak. So if you could let me know.
Not at the moment.
I will allow you to speak later, Mr. Victory. This is a bit of a structured process, if you don't mind, but I promise you will have the opportunity to speak.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Sullivan, any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, going back to noise and the music, I appreciate what is being said, but we need some sort of soundproofing to make sure that the noise doesn't sort of go up to the, above the premises to the flats above. That's one issue I have. Also, another issue I have with noise is people waiting for taxis. Are they going to be waiting outside or inside? Staff clearing up, people leaving premises. And the other thing that really that's the noise issue. But the other thing that concerns me is the smoking issue as well, if I could sort of go on to smoking. I know it's been said that there's only 5 people allowed to smoke outside. But is there any way that the smoking area could be cordoned off so people don't stray over the road? They stay within that cordon? It's just a question. And they don't sort of then disturb the residents. Thank you.
Chairman, I can come into the smoking because I've put the extra condition regarding smoking in restricting not more than 5 people. Cordoning off would be a little bit difficult, but again, the client is going to try his best, and I've discussed that with him. That once there are 4 people, there 4 to 5 people, it doesn't give a crowded person there. But if you wish to reduce it from 5 to 4, we have no objections to that. Regarding the smoking area. But here you are, we can't at the moment restrict more people. We are trying to restrict as less as possible for people to go outside. Coming back to the noise factor, I can only suggest to the client, and I can put a noise emitter at the premises, which will restrict the noise going above the limit required by the environmental health.
Yes, thank you for that. Mr. Sakadia, do you have any answers you wish to add to what's been raised?
No, I am okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I mean, just to round those points off, I think that we should come back maybe in the discussion section to talking about these matters in a little more detail. But I would suggest, I think it would be helpful to contemplate the installation of a noise limiter on the sound equipment. And I think that some clarification perhaps is needed as to whether routinely there is going to be music playing or whether it is just for special occasions. So may I suggest we return to that in the discussion phase. Councillor Gardner, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I know you've been indicating. Please, could you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, Councillor Sullivan and yourself have pulled up a lot of the things that I've got in my long list here. What worries me, despite the premises actually being on a high street, it's also residential. And I'd like to know how the applicant can actually guarantee to the people putting objections that the premises will be run properly and in accordance with all the licensing objectives. I appreciate that the licensing team have put down the conditions that they'd like. My biggest concern is 6 and 7, which is the prevention of public nuisance. I don't like, first of all, I don't like the idea of anybody standing outside a restaurant smoking. I think that sends out very, very bad messages to start off. Now, if you've got either 2 or 3 or 5 people standing outside a restaurant, they're not going to be silent, are they? So they're going to be making a noise. Now, mindful of the fact that when people have had a few drinks and their volume control appears to go up and it can't be turned down. I'm sure you all understand what I'm saying. And I'm slightly worried about the people who live over the road. They don't have to put up with that sort of thing. I mean, as an individual resident, I wouldn't put up with it. And also the confusion over the bar. Now, if somebody goes to the bar and says, I'd like a pint of whatever, but I'll have a bag of crisps, does that constitute having something to eat? That worries me as well, because we need proper clarification about that, because when the applicant put in the bit about the bar, I was quite worried about that. I appreciate.
Sorry, so legal officer. If we can phrase it in questions, so we can give the applicant and the agent representing opportunity to reply, please.
Well, I'm sure the applicant would like to explain about the bar, and I also would like to know what the applicant, not his representative, have done in terms of making some sort of communication with the local residents, because they are understandably quite peeved and quite concerned. So has anybody ever been to see them to find out? I mean, in the licensing pack, you can see who they are. So has anybody made any effort to speak to them, or are you just assuming that things will just happen naturally? I'm actually genuinely quite concerned about this. Thank you.
Councillor Gardner, can I suggest that we actually break this down into some bite-sized chunks which we could ask the applicant to answer? If I may suggest to you, I think in terms of how do we avoid a repetition of what happened previously as far as public nuisance is concerned, can I suggest it probably does go back to the question of what sort of business the applicant is going to run? Because I think it's a very different proposition if the business is to be a restaurant that's serving alcohol as opposed to a bar where the emphasis is upon alcohol sale. Would you agree? That probably is something that we need reaffirmation on.
Yes, Chairman, I can come into that and I can answer Councillor Janet Gardner's questions. I've been listening to what she's trying to achieve. We were agreeing. The client is sorry. The client is agreeing to go on condition number 2 of the licensing officer, which says waitress service. So again, we are not saying that people would come into the bar and go onto the counter and say, I want a pint of beer, and then buy a packet of crisps. That's not going to work well, because we have got a condition which says it'll be a waitress service. So anybody coming into the restaurant will have to sit on the table and say, well, I'm ordering something to eat, and I'd like a pint of beer. That's the way forward. And number 2, I'd like to make it very clear that I discussed with the client, we're trying to convert this into a family restaurant where the family would come in, sit and have beer and alcohol with it. What Mr. Sukadia is also trying to say to you earlier, that on a Friday and a Saturday, when a family wants to organize a birthday party or some occasion, Indian occasion, that is why he intends to have that music on a weekend, which is running up to 11:30. He's not asking more than 11:30. In normal circumstances, restaurants would like to go till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. That is not what Mr. Sukadia wants to do here. His main aim at the restaurant is to make sure a family environment is created, which will stop from what was happening previously. That is where his promotion is. He does want to work along with the community. He wants to give his telephone number to all the neighbors around, especially Mrs. Sima Kapoor, which we heard about. And we've looked at the objection from her and the other people. He wants to work with them. He wants them to come to the restaurant and have a food and be part of the restaurant's thing around the community, because he lives around there. So that's his aim at the moment, and that's his aim of running this restaurant. So it will be completely a different scenario that we are looking at from what the previous owners were doing. So that can, I hope that answers all the questions Mrs. Janet Gardner, Councillor Janet Gardner wants to.
Well, yes, I mean, Mr. Panchal, thank you for that, but I do agree with Councillor Gardner that
Yeah, I totally agree with her.
Unfortunately, you are not going to be there on a day-to-day basis running the business. Yeah. So I do think we need an affirmation from Mr. Sukadia, and I think particularly with regard to firstly the business model, and I do take the point that with this, if the aim is for this to be a family, targeted at families, that is very different. And I think also what Councillor Gardner and I too need to hear is that if it hasn't happened so far, there does need to be an open channel of communication with the local residents in order that their concerns are recognised, taken account of, and acted upon. Mr. Sukadia, can I hear from you on this, please?
Yes, sir. Like, I am happy with the whatever the Mr. Panchal say, and this is mostly, sir, I give the my restaurants project as well. I try to run the a family restaurant, not the only the bar, sir. I put the name, I apply the bar because anybody's come, but I don't mind if they say you want to get the restaurant license. I just put the name of the a restaurants only. They are not the motto of the running the bar or the club or something, sir. And another thing, sir, I am happy to give my local number to with local community as well, and our neighbors. If they have any happens or anything, they call me anytime. And this time when we get the obligation, and that time we return, or the Mr. Mark, they say we can't contact directly to for any complainers. So that's why otherwise I am happy to go that time with Miss Seema Parmar or what our neighbors. But they strictly they have, I think so, we can't go directly with and talk with any complaints. That's why I don't go with any compliances there.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gardner, do you have any more questions for Mr. Sukadia?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Perhaps, Mr. Sukadia, if I can just raise, excuse me, one other question about timings. I have to say that the application form wasn't particularly clear because, as I understand it, the premises will be open for business from midday until 11:30 in the evening every day. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But if that's the case and you're actually going to be shutting the premises at 11:30, surely there does need to be a last time at which you will allow a customer to come in and to sit down and to order a meal. So have you considered what that will be?
Yes, sir. So that's why we stress they have before they say that you close on the 11 o'clock, but it's not possible because normally in the restaurants they are the last order. Sorry, or the customer allowed last in the around 10:30.
Yes.
So if any customers come on the Friday night and they come to 10:30, and we serve them and we give the food and everything, they take the around 20-25 minutes. It's 20 minutes for at least for the foods coming.
Yes.
For if they order. So if they are already 11 o'clock, so that's why we are not agree. We are not close the restaurant in the 11 o'clock. So that's why I said we are at least we need the 11:30 license still. And I don't ask this any new thing because of whatever the old restaurant they have the same license, and around our restaurants they have another 2 restaurants as well, and they have the license till 12 o'clock as well, sir.
Yeah, but can I just understand a little better what you're saying here, please, Mr. Sukadia, because it seems to me you've made a fairly strong statement here that your premises will be closed at 11:30. Okay. And if that is the case, then surely you need to have an instruction to your staff as last occasion or last time on which you will allow a customer to come in and place an order.
Yeah, I am agree with that. I put the like a 10:30 for the allow the last customer come in and serve the customers.
Yeah, I mean that sound. I mean, 10:30 sounds sensible to me because that allows, you know, and I think actually for the residents, for the local residents, that's very important because if the reality were that you to be, you know, if I turn up at your restaurant at 11:29 and you agree to find me a table and sit me down and receive my order, then the reality is I'm probably not going to be leaving your restaurant until 12:30 or something like that. So I think for the residents, that's an extremely important thing. So just to really emphasize that, are you saying that you would not accept new customers after 10:30?
Yes, sir. I am expect that.
Okay, okay, very good. All right. Well, look, I think.
Sorry, is that the same for alcohol?
I can come in there. What his explanation is that to clarify more clearly. Sorry, Chairman, I've buzzed in. What Mr. Sukadia is trying to explain that at 10:30 will be the last entry into the restaurant for, and then orders taken at 10:30. So if the client at 10:30 in reality order a pint of beer and meal, which would be served to him to finish till 11:30. So 11:30 the restaurant would close. So he would say to the client that, look, can you finish by 11:30 your meal as well as your alcohol?
Well, Mr. Panchal, that's entirely what I understood from it. But I think the important follow-on to that is at 11:30 the restaurant is closed.
Yeah,
correct?
the restaurant will be closed at 11:30. That's what Mr. Sukadia says, and that's what's going to happen.
I think when you, as has been quite correctly said, this is a street that has quite a strong residential presence in it, and I think
I agree.
That is an important factor. And I do recognise what Mr. Sukadia says, that there are other restaurants down that road that are operating till later times, and so really, this one shutting at 11:30. Should provide the residents with a degree of assurance that the operations will be terminated at a sensible time.
Yes, that's what Mr. Sukadia is intending to do, to shut the restaurant at 11:30. So his idea of having the meal or last orders at 10:30 sounds quite reasonable, because at 10:30 he would be taking the last orders. Whoever comes in will be sitting in at 10:30. The orders will be taken then, and he or she or whoever, the family or whoever is there, the customer, needs to leave the restaurant at 11:30 because they are going to close.
So can I just clarify when the last call for alcoholic drinks would be? So we know entry would be at 10:30. We know closing would be at 11:30. So with the alcohol aspect, when would that last call be?
I think from my point of view, I don't know, Mr. Sukadia could answer that. From my point of view, the license should be valid till 11:30, because although they will not be serving at 11:30, but if somebody is finishing his drink at 11:30 and leaving the restaurant, so that will cause another licensable activity if somebody is drinking. But I think the serving should not exceed more than 11:15. That's my view, but it's Mr. Sukadia's point.
Mr. Sukadia, do you have a? We can't hear you, Mr. Sukadia. You need to unmute.
Yes, sir. For the alcohol, so we have the 15 minutes before for the close the restaurants. So normally is 11:15. We ask the all customers, they have the last order. So normally, because the people they finish we close the restaurant. So when the customer sit, we say that we close the 11:30. So you need to finish the food before the 11:30, sir, because we need to close the restaurant 11:30. But anyone who's sitting in the restaurant, they're running the full line, they're asking 11 o'clock, I want a pint of beer. So we need to serve them, so because their food is their dinner is ongoing, so we can't deny them, so we can't serve the alcohol 11 o'clock, sir.
So your assertion would be the last time at which you would serve alcohol would be 11:15. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I suggest we move on. We've given this an extensive examination, and there's more opportunity to deal with some of these things in the discussion phase. So can I now turn to Daniel Ferrer representing the licensing authority. Daniel, can I turn it over to you, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is Daniel Ferrer. I'm the Licensing Team Manager, representing the Licensing Authority as a responsible authority in regards to this application for a new premises licence by Fusion Tadka Limited. Chairman, a lot has been said that has to sort of bring us up to date with the situation, but you will note that on page 29 of the bundle, my original representation against the application was for under the grounds of prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, and protection from children from harm. Now, not wanting to duplicate already the discussions, our main concern was obviously the operation type of the premises, i.e. is it a restaurant, is it a bar, is it a hybrid of the two, is it wet led, is it vertical drinking, or is it, but by the sounds of it, after all of it, it seems quite clear that this is, as Mr. Panchal and Mr. Sukardi have mentioned, that this is a family restaurant-led premises. So in saying that, that's why we suggested the first conditions that was drafted on page 29 of your bundle, therefore clarifying that only alcohol shall be served ancillary to a table meal. And I should say that that is pretty much the restaurant condition. It's not substantial food, substantial availability. It is alcohol shall only be sold with a restaurant meal, not a packet of crisps, because that wouldn't even come anywhere close, and that should be seated. In combination to that, the condition about the supply of alcohol shall be by waiter and waitress only. And we're grateful and welcome the comments from the agent and the applicant about agreeing those conditions. And because, quite frankly, not wishing to go back into the past, the application itself, when we first received it, didn't expressly say that at all. We only had the clues on page 28 of the application, where you can see the plan, these small references to a kitchen, a dining hall, and a small bar. So we say if it's going to be a restaurant, then the relevant conditions, appropriate conditions, should be attached. So that puts aside the issue of operating style of the premises. Our second main issue, and this is probably the last section, was when we received it, also on page 21, the operating schedule in relation to the licensing objectives was, Chair, I think you picked up on, was very, very, I'd say, thin on the ground in terms of measures initially submitted by the applicant. For example, if we take the crime and prevention and disorder licensing objective, only merely a mention of CCTV, we say that it should go in more in depth and should be more robust. So that's why we suggested the condition, and CCTV is very important. Firstly, that it should be for 31 days. A member of staff should be familiar with the operation of that system, and also the requirement to have an incident log so we can have confidence about the actions of the management at the premises. Similarly, the prevention of public nuisance, and we've already talked about this, a big issue for us, that very, very low on the ground in terms of box D in the operating schedule. And let's not forget, the measures that are put in this operating schedule, in this section, would translate to conditions on a license if it were to be granted. So we need significant measures to address particularly prevention of public nuisance, especially when we have mentioned that there will be regulated entertainment in the form of recorded music, but also noise escape, which Councillor Sullivan has mentioned, but also dispersal as well was our concern. And so as a bare minimum, we have suggested those two conditions about no noise shall be generated from the premises and notices to be displayed as well. It's up to you if you want to look at further measures. I know that Mr. Panchal and the applicant have talked about having a noise limiter, which would certainly address the situation as well. But what I would add on condition 6 that we have suggested, no noise generated on the premises or equipment shall emanate. So we say that that would cover the situation in terms of air conditioning and any extractor fans. So if Councillor Sullivan raised that point, we've tried to make it quite general to take that into account. And the final licensing objective, protection of children from harm, you'll be aware that every license such as this will be granted a mandatory condition with age verification. We suggested initially challenge 21, but we welcome the applicants and their agents' submission to have that as challenge 25. Because let's not forget, this will be a family-run restaurant, and so those checks and balances need to be in place. Generally, Chair, those 8 conditions that we suggested, we feel are appropriate, reasonable, and indeed proportionate, and go in some way in addressing those licensing objectives. I'm happy to answer any questions that you or other members of the licensing subcommittee may have for me, but those are my verbal submissions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Daniel. I have no questions. Councillor Gardner, any questions from you?
Yeah, only one. I'm slightly confused. Is it going to be a family-run restaurant? Or is it going to be a family restaurant? Are there going to be children in there or not children in there?
I think that's a question for the applicant rather than for Mr. Ferrer, actually. Can we pick that up in the discussion phase if it's not clear? I agree it's an important point, but I think it's unfair to ask Daniel to try and answer that. Anything else?
So I only asked it because Daniel mentioned it being a family-run restaurant.
So I meant family environment, family restaurant, not family run. So apologies if that came out of my mouth incorrectly. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Councillor Gardner.
Thanks, Dan.
Anything else, Councillor Gardner? No. Councillor Sullivan, any questions for Daniel from you, please?
No.
Okay, great. I would like to raise something, Chairman. I just wanted to establish, we had mention of live music. Is that something you are, that the licensing authority has been approached about? Is it recorded? I know recorded music was something that would be put into the business venue, but the applicant did mention live music, and I just wanted to explore if we knew about that or if that was going to happen at all.
Yeah, Kerry, isn't that a question for the applicant? I mean, I think the application form very clearly talks about recorded music.
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's been no application for live music.
Yes, I was just highlighting because I know the applicant did mention it. If the responsible authority were aware of any live music request.
No, Kerry, we haven't. I mean, I recall Mr. Sacadio mentioning that he had other bars in like Stanmore which dealt with live entertainment, but certainly for this application, my understanding is it's they've only applied for recorded music.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, Chairman, can I come in regarding the music?
Mr. Panchal, can we take this in the discussion phase? I've actually made a note of points that I think have come up. One is about the nature of the phrase family restaurant, and the other is about live music. So I propose we pick these up in the discussion phase where we have a little more open structure for these things. Yes?
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like now to turn to the interested parties to hear their representations. And may I start with you, Mr. Shirley? I believe you're representing the Local Residents Association.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm Trevor Shirling, Planning Officer with the Northwood Residents Association, so I'm here representing the NRA. I'm afraid a lot of my points, of course, have already been discussed, but if I run through them quickly, if that is okay. So the application is for the sale of alcohol as part of the meal experience. To make it clear, the NRA does not object to that as a principle. We just have reservations on parts of the application. It's already been mentioned that the high street is substantially residential. The shops are all on one side of the road. The other side of the road is wholly residential. And there are also quite a number of flats over the shops themselves. That is likely to increase given current process. So the NRA's concern does relate to the impact of noise and disturbance to the residents of the high street and adjoining roads that could be caused by the users leaving the premises up to 11:30 at night, with staff leaving later than that. For that reason, we would actually like to see the licence ending at 11 o'clock rather than 11:30. So that's one request. In section 15, it's been discussed, the alcohol is to be consumed on the premises. Again, that's normal for a restaurant. We would like to see a positive restriction against customers taking drinks outside onto the pavement area or beyond, and ensure they must drink any alcohol only inside the premises, because gatherings outside will involve noise, adversely affecting the residential property, particularly in the evening. Section 11 of the application asks whether the music will be amplified. The question is unanswered on the application form. It's been discussed here. We'd like to see a positive restriction against amplified music so that it cannot be heard outside the unit. Again, an actual restriction. Section 14 refers to the provision of late night refreshment after 11 p.m. As discussed, that infers that it's going to be people coming late at night, not having a meal perhaps, and just going to the bar and for the sale of alcohol, which would make it more like a wine bar or pub late into the evening. So again, it's the effect of alcohol late at night that causes antisocial behaviour in the area around the premises. So again, just in case this refers to the separate sale of alcohol without a meal, especially if the alcohol is purchased and then consumed outside the premises, we'd like to see a specific condition that all alcohol must be consumed inside the premises, as the application states, and not on the pavement outside the unit. Section 18D is the request for customers to leave quietly. Clearly, this is very hard to enforce, which again, given the location and the substantial residential property in the high street, we request the earlier end time of 11 p.m. So just in summary, the NRA does not object to the sale of alcohol to go with the meal, as it is a restaurant. We would like certainty that all alcohol will only be consumed in the premises and as part of the meal. We would like the license end time to be 11 p.m. rather than 11:30 p.m. And we would like certainty that music will not be heard outside the premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelling. That's very helpful. I have no questions for you. I'll turn to my colleagues. Councillor Sullivan, any questions from you?
No, I have no questions.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner?
No, I think he summed it up beautifully.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we will then go to the second interested party. Now, I believe we have both Mr. Victory and Ms. Palmer are on the phone. I'm afraid only one of you can speak. So please, would one of you like to summarise your observations?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so some of the, I'm a bit perplexed by some of the things that I said, because it seems like the representative seems to have more of an idea than the actual owner of the premises as to what's going to be taking place on the site, which is, again, 1 minute there's going to be drinking only with a meal, but yet the owner seems to think that people can come in and just order a drink. And although that was hastily and speedily covered up, that was there for us all to hear. So I'm a bit concerned about that. And whilst I do appreciate that the new owners say they had no connection with the previous owners, irrespective, it is still a restaurant on a busy residential thoroughfare. And the problem is that with all intention in the world, people come in there to have a meal and have a good time. When they're coming, the parking situation, it just becomes ridiculous. People don't adhere to the parking regulations on the street, and unfortunately, past 10 o'clock, Hillingdon enforcement just closes down. So that is a concern. So you've got ramshackle parking all over the place, you know, drop curbs not adhered to, all that kind of thing. And as was stated by one of the councillors, I believe, when late at night, when people are leaving the premises, they're just, you know, in having a good time. You know, you can't restrict what they are. You know, the loudness, the volume of their speech, just the joviality. And what is needs to be explained is because of the residential nature of the road, and of course once it becomes nighttime, the noise is amplified. So, with all the goodwill in the world, it's, you know, you could just be having a normal conversation, but you can hear it. You can hear it from inside the premises across the road. So that's some of my concerns there. In terms of there keeps being a continuous and repeated reference to the door being open and music being emitted out into the street. Okay, now we live here, and I would like to clarify for you now that it doesn't matter whether the door is open or closed. We can still hear the music. Okay, so by saying that the door is going to be closed, that's fantastic, but the noise, the music will still be heard. I'd like that to be known. Again, the other thing I'm hearing is that you'll be able to order alcohol up until 11:15, and the restaurant closes at 11. Now that sounds to me like you're just encouraging irresponsible drinking right there. What, somebody's going to order a pint at 11:15, and they have to neck it basically and get out the door. So what message is that sending? And what is that? What is that going to emanate? How's that going to emanate into the street? So I don't really understand that. And whilst again I've got to go back, I say I really do appreciate that they're saying that they're not affiliated with the people from before. And whilst we have had a restaurant opposite us since we've lived here, and yes, they've closed it, or their drinking licenses were to 11. I don't really understand the need for the 11:30 extension. It just means that it's going to get later and later. You know, there are children in this house. There were children in the houses, you know, next to us. There were people planning families next door. You know, there are children that need to be at school. And as it was saying, this is going to be a 7-day-a-week affair. So I just feel like that whilst I understand that you know, everyone wants to have a business, and you know, but at the end of the day, this is a residential area, and I just don't really understand. Can't see how people are not seeing this for what it is. And whilst I can appreciate that the councillors are raising a lot of these concerns, it seems like they're being rebutted by the representative, but not really by the owner. That's what I've got to say here.
Okay, Mr. Victory, thank you for that. I have no questions for Mr. Victory. Councillor Gardner, do you have any questions? No. Councillor Sullivan?
No, I have none.
Thank you. Okay, so in that case, I think we've heard representations from all parties present. So we move to the discussion phase, and just to explain.
Sorry, Chairman. We got Seema Kapoor also. Is she speaking?
Well, as I understand, Mr. Victory and Ms. Kapoor are husband and wife. And
sorry, I didn't know.
What I made very clear at the outset was that I would allow one of them to put representations forward, but not both. And
okay,
so I trust that her point will be made by Mr. Victory.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't get.
In addition, all of the representations that were sent in writing have been considered. So all representations have been noted.
Okay, so let me move then into the discussion phase. And as I was about to explain, this gives an opportunity for anybody in this meeting to raise observations and ask questions of others. So let me kick that off. I think Mr. Sukadia, I think I need to start with first of all with a general question from me to you. You've heard the concerns, whilst there's no doubt that you cannot be held responsible for the transgressions of others who held a license before you for that premises, it is clear that that there is great sensitivity about the way in which this business is being operated, and you will have heard as well that there's still in some people's minds a lack of clarity, let me put it like that, about what the business model is. Is the business model to serve food to people with alcohol accompanied, or is it to sell alcohol? So I would ask you, please, can you respond to those 2 points? Number one, what as the owner and manager of this business, what are you going to do to protect the local residents from nuisance from your restaurant? And number two, just seriously, what is the business model?
Can I answer that question, or do you want Mr.?
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't.
Okay.
I think it's terribly important that the committee and the residents hear what Mr. Sukadia has to say about this. It's as I said to you previously, unfortunately, I'm sure it would be wonderful if you were running the restaurant for Mr. Sukadia, but and I know that isn't going to happen. Okay. So,
thank you very much. Okay.
Mr. Sukadia, you must answer this, please. Wow, I think we've lost him, haven't we?
If we pause for him to return back.
Yes, I think so. I didn't think the question was that terrible.
Yeah, it seems as though he's just temporarily left the meeting. If we just give it a few moments and let's see if he can rejoin.
No, we really can't proceed without Mr. Sukadia.
No, that's right. Mr. Pancho, if you have him on your phone, perhaps you could just quickly check with him if he's rejoining.
I'll try and give him.
Oh, okay. I think he's just coming back in.
Okay.
Okay, there he is.
Mr. Sukadia, you're back with us.
I pressed so they disconnect. Yeah, first of the things, sir. The main module for the business is like a kind of the family restaurant, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the takeaway foods as well, for the food out as well. And another thing, sir, we try our best for tell our customers, so please, this is a residential area as well. So we try our best for the less noise. When they go out, we try our best to tell the customer, we put the notice as well outside. So please leave quietly, the local residents around here. We put the I said all cameras we put as well for the nuisance as well for and the main thing, we try our best no more than a few peoples they go outside with the smoke, and we don't allow any customers with the alcohol outside of the premises, the only inside of the premises.
Yes. Okay. So just to summarize that then, so we're absolutely clear, customers will, and I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but I feel this is so important. You are only going to be serving alcohol to customers who come in to have a meal. They're going to be seated at tables, and they will not be permitted to take their drinks outside.
Yes.
Okay, that is very important. Okay. You will, I take it, be making yourself available to the local residents to hear their concerns. They will have your contact details. Yes. Okay. Let's turn to the question of music, and this there was a degree of confusion about this. Your application form says you're going to have recorded music only. A suggestion of live music crept in somewhere. Can you clarify this, please?
So the recordable musics, they are the like any functions coming or any birthday parties they come, so they want to play their own music, kind of the like music they want play their own song or something, though they give the songs on the USB or something, because sometimes I have the restaurants of people, they come with their own USB and they say I want to play this kind of the song. Or sometimes the customers come with they want just not the a live music with band, but they come with the mic and they kind of the karaoke.
Well, let's clarify this. Your application, and I'll look to the licensing officers and to Kerry for this, but as I understand it, your application does not cover that latter situation of karaoke and any sort of live performance. Can we be clear that that is the case? I mean, as I understand it, it has not been applied for. Yeah.
Okay. So we played only for the recordable music. That's it. So
I'm looking to the experts here. Kerry, Daniel, can you confirm that there isn't an application for live music?
Yeah, I can.
Looking at the application, I'm going to page 15, and it says there's no request. It says no when it's questioned if live music will be played.
Okay. So
on section 10.
Can I come in this, sorry, Chair, to ask Kerry regarding the Licensing Act? The music is deregulated before 11. Am I right in saying that?
Well, if it's a live music where people come in and sing, or karaoke style with the microphone, then it would need to be licensed. But if it's recorded music, it's deregulated.
So, in other words, if I were to play live music before 11 o'clock, is it regulated or deregulated?
Live music is regulated. Recorded music is not regulated.
I think we need to look at this, because from my point of view, I think Daniel will come in. Anything before 11 o'clock is deregulated. Am I right in saying that, Daniel?
Sorry, can you hear me? I'll just clarify. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yeah, Daniel.
So we're getting into the issue of the Live Music Act 2012, which deregulated entertainment licensing, and in short, that a license is not required for live music or recorded music if it takes place between the hours of 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. and that premises has on sales, is providing on sales, and also to an audience of no more than 500 people. So to clarify your point, I mean, certainly I'm not in a position to give, be the legal advisor, but the Live Music Act would really only sort of kick in. So it really licensable from 11 to 11:30 for the hours and the days that they propose. That's my interpretation of the Live Music Act.
Actually, I've just checked. I've checked it now, and up to 11 o'clock, 11 p.m. That is correct. It is live music and recorded music. There's no license needed.
So in other words, Mr. Sukadia could play live music and recorded music up to 11 o'clock and does not need a license for that.
Okay. Yeah. But to be clear, the license request is for recorded music to extend to 11:30. Am I right?
Yeah. Am I right? Yeah, that's to extend. So if he were to play between 11 and 11:30, he cannot play live music after 11 o'clock, or he cannot play recorded music if it was not applied for.
Okay.
Just to clarify, this just on legal point, yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. But Mr. Sukadia, can I clarify, if it's not a private party or something like that that's going on at your restaurant, will you routinely be playing recorded music?
Yes, sir. If the customer is sitting in the restaurant, so we need to put the not the big volume, but we need to like low volume. We need to like music, something music. So that's why we play. If there are no customer or something, so we can't play the like. Is no point to play the music. But if the customer sitting there till like 11:15 or something, so we need to like slow music or something. We need, sir.
But can I clarify? Is this background music, or is it a bit more prominent than that?
No, just normal like not the live music. I mean, just like a regular volume music, sir.
Yeah.
Not the loud music.
All right. And staying with the music subject, does your equipment have a sound limiter on it?
Sorry?
Does it have a volume limiter on it? Can you limit the volume?
Yeah, we check this one, sir. I don't know in this property they have already or not, but we try our best to check the volume, what the maximum volume we can play and all things, sir.
I mean, I think it would be advisable to establish whether that is possible with your equipment, and to have a policy about the maximum level at which the music can be played. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sir.
I think that certainly would make sense. And may I also ask if, as I understand it, the main entrance, I mean, there is if I look at the plans on page 28 of the pack, as I understand it, there is one entrance which the public can use in and out of the restaurant, which is on the high street. That's correct, is it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And that entrance, does that have is that a single door or is it a double door? So to explain the point I'm making, if you go through the outer door, is there almost like an airlock until you get to a second inner door?
No.
Which might
they have only one door, sir.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Because that might be a way that you would limit the amount of music that emanates out of the building. Yes. Were there to be a second inner door. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether that is possible.
We try, sir, if possible. So we make another glass door, sir.
Well, that I would suggest that perhaps might be helpful. Okay. May I turn it over then to Councillor Gardner? Do you have any questions or points you want to raise in the discussion phase?
Just a bit about family restaurant.
Yes, good point.
I'm not being funny, so I associate a family restaurant with being mum, dad, granddad, couple of little children. Is it going to be like that? If it's going to be like that, then I'm slightly concerned about the alcohol. And also, I'd like to find out from the applicant, not his representative, how you're going to stop somebody who wants to take their alcohol outside. So, are you going to have? I mean, I don't suggest you've got door supervisors, but you're going to need to have somebody who's going to be able to be firm enough to say to people, you cannot take that outside, and without them kicking off because they might be a little bit drunk. Thank you.
Mr. Sukadia, can you respond to that?
Yes, sir. Any customers, they go with the alcohol outside, so we strictly deny them. Sorry, she's not allowed to do the alcohol outside. So we can do this one, sir. Because I don't think so in the family restaurants we need any bouncer or anything in the outside of the restaurants.
But also to clarify Councillor Gardner's point, I mean, this is when you say when it's said family restaurant, you mean do you mean a restaurant which is targeted at serving families, or do you mean that it's going to be run by you and your family?
No, sir.
Well, sorry, which is it, please?
They are the proper a staff manager, because I have the 2 kids as well. So yeah. I'm not run with my wife or my kids in the family, sir. So this is a proper business we running. Is a family restaurant. We say we invite the family, sir. We don't run the business by family, sir.
Okay, so if I understand it, your customers, you hope, are going to be families. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we all are the families maybe now, sir.
Yeah. Councillor Gardner, any more questions from Mr. or for anybody else for that matter, not Mr. Sicardia?
No, I think the challenge 25 is going to be proved quite difficult. You've got families coming in with small children, but that's just me being flippant.
Okay.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, you may.
Mr. Victory.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm looking at page number 45, and I'm looking at the outside of the restaurant. And if you look on the wall, you will see next to the door that's a smoking box. Okay. But from my understanding, if you look, there's an alleyway to the left of the picture, which runs all the way the full length of the restaurant. And from my understanding, they have parking situation down that alleyway. I may be mistaken, but from my understanding from before, they had parking spaces down there. My concern is, even if you look at the picture, you can see the open windows at the top. There's all children up in these dwellings. So you can imagine, even if there's just 4 or 5 people here smoking at 11:30 at night, having a couple of drinks, talking, you can see just from that picture the noise nuisance that the potential it has. Okay, so I don't really understand why they don't use the rear of their premises or use the down the alleyway, not in the alleyway, because again they congregate in there, and as you can imagine, the audio is amplified, just the people standing in there. Can you see what I'm referring to in the picture? So my question is, why do they have to congregate outside the front? Is there no rear part of the premises? Are they not allowed to? Can they not segregate a section by their parking that people can walk through there, go down there and have a cigarette? Why do they have to be outside on the main thoroughfare? That's my question.
Yeah, perhaps I can add something to that, actually, Mr. Sicardia. If I look at, looking at the page 28 of the pack, which is the plan of the restaurant, there is an entry to the kitchen at the rear of the premises, as I understand it. But I'm not sure if you can reach the area outside the rear of the premises from that alleyway that's next to the building. Can you? Sorry, we can't hear you, Mr. Sicardia. Mr. Sicardia, we can't hear you.
Hi, sir. We have only one door in the entry. We don't have any another door backside, sir.
So, if, for example, you're having deliveries of food or wines or beers to the restaurant, do they have to come in through the front entrance, or can they gain access to the rear entrance?
We have the rear entrance as well, but they are the inside of the kitchen, sir. So we don't allow customers go backside past to kitchen.
Yeah. But I mean, taking Mr. Victory's point, if you look at the plan, okay, the plan on page 28, as he says, there is an alleyway that runs down the right-hand side of your premises. Yes.
Yeah.
If I were to walk down that alleyway,
yeah,
can I reach the back of your premises?
No, sir.
You can't.
No, we can't.
Okay. So what is the purpose of the rear door, the entry to the kitchen? Then, what is that door used for?
Just for the past the bins.
So you have bin storage out there. Is that
yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so this alleyway is not yours to use. Is that correct? It belongs to.
Yeah, not belong to us. Sir.
So. Unfortunately, it would appear that the option of asking people to stand and smoke their cigarettes in the alleyway, am I right in thinking that doesn't work?
No, sir, because the alleyway is not belong to us, sir.
Yeah. So Mr. Victor, I think it's a fair question, but I suspect it probably isn't viable in this instance. Councillor Sullivan, do you have questions for anyone?
As there's only one entry into the restaurant, what about fire hazards and things like fire precaution? If there's a fire alarm, emergency, what happens then?
So they have the like entry and exit on the same door for the customers, and for the kitchen guys, they have the back door.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm confused because you just said there was no entrance to entry to the rear, and so I don't really understand that.
I think just for clarity, on the plan which Chairman referred to on page 28, we can see there's a door at the back, and what the applicant has underlined is that that's to be used for waste. But alternatively, I think what he's saying is that if there was a fire or an emergency, that door could be used by the kitchen staff, and then the front door is to be used by the patrons and customers.
Yeah, can I understand that? Is it confirmed that they don't have parking spaces at the rear there?
Parking is not an aspect that's dealt with under the licensing regime.
Yeah, that's a planning matter, I think.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I was more thinking of an alternative smoking area. That was more my point.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Victory, I did cover this off with Mr. Sicardi. I don't know if you heard me, but this alleyway that is to the right of the plans that you look at on page 28 are not part of the premises. And so, and furthermore, Mr. Sicardi has said that there is no access from the alleyway to the area at the back of the building. Yeah. So alternative locations for people smoking, and I take your point that one wants to limit the number of people smoking on the high street, but using the alleyway, it would appear, is not an option. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's just obviously I live here, so I see them coming up and down the alleyway with all the bins and all that. So that's why I was a bit perplexed by there is or there isn't access. They do have access or they don't. So that was my concern.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, Mr. Sicardi, can I raise one other point? As far as when people have finished their evening meal and they're heading home, are you going to have a policy in terms of helping people with taxis? For example, the point I'm raising here is that what you really don't want are substantial numbers of people standing on the pavement waiting for a taxi that they've booked. So I do wonder whether you having an arrangement with a local taxi firm so that you book for them and that the driver comes into the restaurant or something to prevent a collection of people standing in the high street.
Yes, sir. We try we contact with the local taxis guy, and nowadays, sir, mostly the people they are booked with the Uber, and nowadays, yeah, so mostly customers when the Uber's drivers come anywhere, they book the cab, they send the text, we are here, and after the customer leave the premises, and we try our best. We keep the local taxi driver's number as well. So who's the people they don't want to book with the Uber or any services. So we just book the cab for him, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right. Does anybody else have any questions which they need to raise of anyone else in this meeting?
Yes, Chairman. I just, as a matter of nothing to do with the hearing, but it concerns me every time I go to a hearing, whether it's Ealing or Hillingdon or whatever, and we have objections from the Trevor Shirlings, like from the Residents Association. Could it be possible for us to know whether before Mr. Trevor Shirling put his objections to this, was there a meeting held by all the residents and these points put up? could Mr. Trevor explain to us that was there a meeting, or was the objection just put in by Mr. Trevor himself?
If I may, yes. There was not a meeting with the residents. I think, as I said at the beginning, as the association, we don't object to alcohol being sold as part of the meal. There were concerns here that we raise automatically about drinking outside the premises, whether the premises would be more like a pub or wine bar rather than a restaurant. And then when we looked at the application and saw no answer to the question about amplified music, there wasn't a yes or no, it raised a concern. So we do this as a matter of course. We look, and if we believe there's something that needs to be raised, then we'll raise it. And to be fair, most of the points have now been raised. The questions have been asked.
Sorry, Mr. Trevor. My question was, what do your members, the association members of you, as you are the chairman or secretary, I don't know, but do you consult all the tenants that there is an application for this restaurant, and do you have any points to object, or do you have anything, or is it just your own objection to this application?
We did not have a meeting. So we decide whether, as a committee, we are going to make objections or not, whether it's this. I happen to be the planning officer, so I deal substantially with the planning applications and do it on the same basis. But no, there was not an open meeting. It was a discussion amongst committee members.
So this objection is your own objection and not the committee.
Sorry, am I allowed to step in here?
Sorry, everybody, can I stop you there? I understand the point that is being made, but I think Mr. Sherling, sorry, please, Mr. Victory. The point in question has been answered by Mr. Sherling. Mr. Panchal, if you have a wider issue with this, I encourage you to pick it up with Mr. Sherling and indeed other resident associations outside this. But I do think Mr. Sherling has answered the point in terms of this particular matter. So I don't want us to get sidetracked. We're 1.5 hours into this hearing already. So please let's move on.
Thank you. Okay.
I've got just one more question about timings, really, Mr. Sukaria, if I can. You've said that if your application is accepted, that the restaurant itself will be closing at 11:30, yeah, and so all the customers will have left the premises by that time. At what time will your members of staff be leaving? Bear in mind that they, it would appear, have to leave by the front door as well.
We try as soon as possible, but they take the mostly half an hour more, because the weekdays is the restaurant is not this much busy. So if they are the close on the 11 o'clock, so sometime the closing preparation, they start 10:30 if the customer is not there. So we close the 11 o'clock, and even the staff, they leave the 11 o'clock as well if the customer is not there. But if there are customer there and they need to preparation, they take around 20 to 30 minutes after the customers go, sir.
And can I assume that you will be making a very clear instruction to them that when they do leave the premises, they leave and disperse quickly and quietly? I think that's very important.
Yes.
Are you able to tell me, is there a time window during which you will receive deliveries? Clearly you have deliveries to receive of
delivery is the maximum 10:30, sir, because we close the kitchen is the 10:30. So in the delivery, all the systems are automatic, they close the 10:30, sir.
I'm not talking about take here. I'm talking about deliveries of vegetables or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I said, sir. So mostly on the 10:30, the all deliveries, everything's they close automatically, sir.
Okay. And the disposal of rubbish and bottles and so forth, that's all going to the back of the building, I take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and is there I mean, presumably to continue after the restaurant is closed?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Right. Well, I have no more questions. Does anybody else have anything else they wish to raise?
Chairman, did Mr. Victory want to say something else? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll take Councillor Gardner first, and then we'll come back to Mr. Victory. But yes.
A little bit of clarification. You said the deliveries stop at 10:30. You're talking about 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 in the evening.
Sorry, 10:30 p.m.
Okay, so what deliveries are taken through the restaurant, are they? Because you say they got so while you've got people sitting there, people will be taking deliveries through the restaurant while people are eating.
Yes, they have the front of the counter, ma'am. So they are the delivery counter there. So anybody's come for the delivery, they call that because mostly the delivery they order the before they come. So the food is ready, and when the customer is there, we just give the parcel.
Okay, sorry, I've got you wrong then. You're talking about takeaway deliveries. I was talking about, I thought Councillor Goddard was talking about deliveries.
No, sorry, the delivery means like a food delivery mostly come before the restaurant open or before the 5 o'clock, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thanks. Sorry,
it's my mistake.
That's right.
Okay, Mr. Victory, did you have something else to raise?
Yeah, well, no, just in answer to the inquiry as to how this kind of came about, because we, as the residents, we live opposite the restaurant, and there was a sign, very, very small sign, put in the window. We didn't get any notification from the applicants or councillors or nobody. It's just by chance that we happened to walk past and see it, and then we made we called up to find out how we could make an application, and then we reached out to the Residents Association ourselves. So I just wanted that to be clear, because it felt like there was some sort of accusation going on there. And the other thing I would like to say is it is quite disappointing that none of our local councils actually reached out to us. We didn't get a letter, we didn't get we didn't get anything. So like I said, had we not have seen the notice in the window surrounded by a windowing, then this would have just gone on unchallenged or without any of this. Well, that's the impression I'm getting. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Okay, thank you for that point. So if there are no other questions or comments to raise in the discussion phase, sorry, Daniel, were you indicating? No. Okay, fine. Kerry.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to establish then when the deliveries of food and alcohol would arrive then, the times?
Yes, they come before 6 o'clock. Because always the supplier, they work till 6 o'clock. So mostly they come the afternoon or the midday around between 12 to 6. But last delivery, maybe they come the 6 o'clock. No more deliveries after 6.
And when you would be taking out the waste from the premises, what time?
Kerry dealt with that. That could continue, as I understand it, from what Mr. Sicardia said, right up until the period between closure and the staff leaving the restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just mindful about the bottles making noise, and maybe I'm not sure if there's a condition to address it, but we will look into it.
Yes. These all go to the back of the restaurant, do they, Mr. Sicardia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when do you actually remove the rubbish and the bottles from the area at the back of the restaurant?
So end of the day, because there is not every day, sir, because the collection, they come only twice a week, sir.
Yeah. So you may well move them at the end of business.
Yes, sir.
The end of the working day. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Any other points that anyone wishes to make?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more, if that's possible. In terms of the delivery, I understand that, but the other situation that we experience on the road is the picking up and the delivering of the fresh laundry of the the tablecloths and that kind of stuff. So they used to come on a Sunday. I know it's a completely different restaurant, but I'm just explaining they used to come on a Sunday late in the evening, maybe 11:30, even up to 12 o'clock, and it used to be quite noisy. So if that could be taken into consideration at this point, instead of it being a later complaint, then that would be fantastic.
Mr. Sukadia, can you comment on that?
Yeah, please, sir. These are new restaurants, so they are totally different. They did like management, everything is totally different. So even I want to go my house as well after they close my restaurant. So I don't wait like till 12 o'clock for delivery guy, like the laundry guy come like after 12 o'clock or after 11 o'clock evening, night. So sorry, this is not going to happen like after 6 o'clock, any deliveries or any collections coming.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else to raise? Fine. I think we'll move then into the closing remarks, and we've covered a great deal of ground on this matter, so I would encourage everybody to keep their closing remarks as brief as possible, please. And we'll go back through the representations in reverse order. So, Mr. Victory, can we start with you in terms of any final comments that you'd like to make, please?
Again, I fully appreciate what the new owner is saying, but again, the concerns still remain that you're looking for a license to 11:30, yet you're going to be having everybody out by 11:30. I don't really understand the need for the extended license. And as I said before, if someone's going to sit there and you're going to serve them a beer at 15:15, you're encouraging them to basically neck that and then get them out the door, which doesn't seem reasonable. So I don't really understand the need for that. Again, the concern for the noise and the smoking is one of the major things, because the smoking is ongoing throughout the evening outside, and obviously when the restaurant closes, people coming and going, and whilst they have he mentioned it himself, having functions, Indian family gatherings, it just becomes quite a lot of people at one time, and I just don't really understand how he's going to noise manage that. I just don't get that. And the fact that this is a residential street, it says here, residents come first. It doesn't seem that way at this particular point, but that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Mr. Shirling, would you like to make any brief closing comments? Mr. Shirling, can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I was trying to get my microphone back on. Sorry.
No,
no, I think lots of things have been discussed. What I would like to see here are, though, specific conditions about no drinking outside the premises, not just that it said that the drinking will be inside, but a specific condition that it won't be outside, because that makes clearly enforcement that much easier. And there is the noise issue, so trying to stop people congregating outside is not part of the license, I'm sure, but stop them taking the drink outside. And then the music, because the question wasn't answered in the application, is to make sure a specific condition that the sound of the music cannot be heard outside the unit. So I'd like specific conditions rather than positive conditions rather than negative.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Daniel, any closing comments from you, please? No,
I've got no closing comments, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mark, anything from you?
No, thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thanks very much. So finally, we turn to the applicant and or Mr. Panchal. Mr. Panchal, I take it you'll sum up briefly.
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to sum up. Chairman, just briefly, we have heard from the objectors, we've heard from the licensing officers, and you got all the answers to you. We are agreeing to the conditions laid out, and those conditions are sufficient enough to answer all the objections that we've heard. We agree to all the 8 conditions, and we are also adding the condition number 9, which restricts 5 people to be allowed at any one time smoking outside. And we would also like to mention in that condition that the drinks will not be permitted to be taken out of the premises. So that helps, and that puts everything into a better perspective. I just want to clarify that again, we've clarified it before, but I just wanted to make sure to understand the committee that the music is deregulated, and there is condition number 6 regarding the music, which we are agreeing with the license officer, and Mr. Sukadia during our conversation has agreed that we will look into the noise limiter, which if there isn't, I gather that it will be installed to make sure the noise does not evaluate outside. The other concerns that I was looking into, the numbers for the taxis will be laid out in the premises, so people could be able to get the numbers if they wanted to order a taxi. And as Mr. Sukadia said, Uber is now in fashion, and that happens with all the customers. I think we've answered majority of the questions, and you understand that Mr. Sukadia has got no connection with the previous owners, and trying to promote this model into a family-run restaurant. When I say family-run, means it's the family that's coming in to eat, and not the family run by Mr. Sukadia. It'll be run by qualified staff. We have had ourselves as a company, we have had a very good relation with Mr. Sukadia in his past or in his present restaurants and his shops, whereby we tend to advise them and we tend to make sure things are in place. In this application, we wouldn't have been here at the hearing, Chairman. I do apologize for that. But Mr. Sukadia put the application himself, and we had no part during the application process. Otherwise, we would have answered, as Daniel says, and put in the operating schedule in such a manner that would make it much more viable. So, Chairman, we feel that having agreed with the conditions and that the license be granted till 11:30. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Panchal. Mr. Sukadia, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, sir. I just say that I try my best to solve the community and don't disturb. We try our best to don't disturb any local people or our residential people as well, sir.
Thank you very much for that. Right, everybody. Well, we now reach the point where the subcommittee will adjourn and will move to a private deliberation on the application prior to announcing its decision. This could take a while, so you do not have to rejoin the virtual meeting and can instead watch the decision announcement live or after the fact on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. A decision notice will also be issued to the applicant in writing within 5 working days of the meeting. So thank you to everyone who took the time to attend this virtual meeting today. Please remain muted while we end this section of the YouTube broadcast. Could I now please ask that the councillors, legal officer and democratic services officer to remain online, and politely request that all other parties please now leave the virtual meeting. Thank you.
Sorry, Chairman, just before you go, do we come back for the decision notice?
Actually, just to add on to, and just to provide clarity with what Chairman said, what we're going to do is the decision makers would deliberate, but the decision will be published in written form. So, and at a later stage, it will be broadcasted, but not. So therefore, it means that you don't have to wait.
Yeah, so just to clarify that the decision notice will be viewable later. We do have a separate YouTube available for people to watch later. So once the decision has been made, it will be broadcast on a separate YouTube. If you go onto our Hillingdon YouTube channel, you will see it there as Part A and Part B. So Part A is this part and Part B is the decision part, and you can watch that later, at which time you'll be able to see what the final decision was.
Any particular time or?
Chairman, do you have any? I think we're going to have to wait and see, obviously, how long the deliberations take. Chairman, do you have any particular time you want it to be made live?
Panchal, I'm sorry, I wouldn't want to commit to a time, but because not only has the discussion got to take place, but the decision has got to be written up, and then the the delivery of the decision has got to be recorded. So it will be later today, I'm sure, but I wouldn't wish to predict a time. Okay.
And sorry, just to interject, sorry, and interested parties can contact Democratic Services as well later in the day to find out what the decision is. That's another option rather than watching YouTube.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we can depart. Thank you.
Yes, and if everybody else can remain on mute, I'm going to stop the streaming now. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.